For many, living with disability is not a reason to give up. The realities they live in might be different from ours, but ultimately, they persist. They choose to survive and to live. Paciano Salat, a 62-year-old blind masseur. Being a blind masseur wasn't originally Paciano's plan. He's inclined to playing musical instruments. However, upon coming to Cebu, he was told there was not enough opportunity to pursue such a career. He was later on encouraged to study massage therapy.
That's when I studied massage therapy here. They gave me an option to study musical instruments, but the school was in Zamboanga, so they thought massage therapy was better.
As a young kid, Paciano experienced discrimination from his own family.
Back when I was young, until I reached the age of 12, I would experience discrimination.
Discriminate. Hantod nga 12 anyos ko.
Because of that, I was forced to go fishing, even though I was blind.
Parang buhay lang, pabuhi lang. Pugos uban og mga panagatan.
For Paciano, being a blind masseur meant being able to live independently, to have a family of his own. Paciano is still very much willing to offer his massage services. However, since the pandemic, getting clients on a daily basis has proved to be hard.
I'm still doing massage therapy services, but not much, just on the side. My family would warn me that there's COVID. In my experience, viruses have existed even when I was still studying massage therapy. I just put my trust in God, because if I don't take action, what would I be able to do? Especially family members have no decent jobs. I still go on. I just use alcohol and put on a face mask.
Basaleres Acebo, or known as Ceding, 64 years old, is another blind masseuse who faces the same struggle. She has been doing it for more than 2 decades. Ceding was born in Dalaget, Cebu. She was only 1.5 years old when she became blind. Her mother died when she was young, and so support only came from her father. However, by the time she was 6 years old, her father remarried in the city and would rarely send money.
When I turned 15 in 1968, I went on a vacation here in Cebu City with my cousin. When I wanted to come home with my cousin to Dalaget, my father went on to say that I shouldn't come home to my hometown because now that I'm a teenager, I'll only be bullied there.
Coming to the city was a huge step for Ceding back then. Living together with her father's new family was also an adjustment she had to take. Living with her new family meant working twice as hard even when it was tough.
I used to babysit my step-siblings, the children of my father's second wife. From daylight until nighttime, I would fetch water. I'd sleep at dawn and wake up at 12 noon. Then babysit my step-siblings again. I would feel drowsy because I lacked sleep. At one point, the child accidentally fell from the sofa. I got punched in the nose by my father.
The opportunity to study on becoming a massage therapist came when a social worker visited their home.
It was my stepmother who persuaded my father to grant me permission because when time comes, they won't be around. How would I be able to make a livelihood? So my father allowed me to give the requirements I prepared.
For Ceding, choosing to study massage therapy was the best decision. It gave her emancipation and genuine fulfillment. Since becoming a blind masseuse, she was able to do things on her own, have a life of her own.
I was happy at the time because the government would give us 5 Philippine pesos per day, which is 75 Philippine pesos every fortnight. It was better when we attended school every day because we could stroll around and make a livelihood for ourselves instead of relying on our parents. That's what I liked about going to school.
I'm 64 years old, and I'm Rosemarie Paduga.
She was 2 years old when she became blind.
Back then, there were no vaccinations for measles. That's why many got blind from that illness. There were many instances of discrimination in the province. When they see a disabled person, they'd make fun of him or her. And then I remembered my father telling me that raising a pig would be much, since it can be sold later, unlike me. I was 7 years old when he said that to me. It's the reason why I taught myself how to cook rice using wood fire. I would sit near when I was cooking, just to make sure that the rice wouldn't be overcooked. Because of that, there was an instance where my face was accidentally burnt.
For Rosemarie, becoming a blind masseuse was out of necessity. Although it gave her a sense of freedom, ultimately, being a blind masseuse was a profession she had not dreamt of. Her journey towards independence started when she decided to move to Cebu City from her native province in Negros Oriental. She was encouraged by a social worker to take a vocational training in Cebu City. Rosemarie became a blind massage therapist in 1977.
I'm no longer inspired to work, since this is not my dream. My dream would have been to do lots of things if only I wasn't blind. But I didn't have any other option but to do massage, to become a masseuse. I have also only realized that being a blind masseuse relied on age. If you're old, then it's harder to do this profession. Personally, I feel tired doing massage services as well as doing laundry. It's really hard to work, because come to think of it, doing massage services is tiring, especially if you're massaging a customer who would not like to turn on the electric fan or aircon. In those instances, it would really be hot and I'll be covered in sweat. It's been hard since the pandemic, especially now that there are no relief goods being distributed. My husband is a taxi driver. He'd go home without any profit. Meanwhile, the fathers of my grandchildren would only earn 60 pesos a day, since they're only driving motorcycles. There are days when he would earn 300, but mostly he, my husband, would only give me 200, and that's good for 3 days' worth of expenses. I'm scared. That's why I choose to spend my last money to buy medicine rather than die. It's really tough if you're asthmatic.
But despite all these, Rosemarie still remains hopeful for the better days to come. She uses her singing as her way to ease her pain and to pass time.
Sa aking nakita, ako'y natawa lang. Pagka ang nangyayari, malaking kaibigan. Uy, sakto rin.
This hurdle was even more amplified during the pandemic.
Duterte declares a state of calamity in the whole country.
More than a year since the country was placed on lockdown, thousands of people have suffered due to the loss of employment. Since then, it's been hard for our blind masseuses. They had no income for months and had to live off from the government's relief goods. Despite the trials, Rosemarie, Ceding, and Paciano still remain hopeful.
I want to achieve a sense of relief, for me to loosen my burden.
If there's any chance, even just small jobs, I'm willing to work. No matter how much of a massage service it is, I'm okay with that because right now, I don't have any source of income for my daily survival.
Being a blind masseuse allows me to help other people, that they no longer have to go to the doctor for any muscle or mild pain. They thank me because my services would alleviate those pains.
The PWD community still needs our support, especially in these trying times. It's up to us to make a difference. It's up to you.